Hey guys, today I'm going to debunk a claim about Thor that a lot of people have taken as true without looking at the full context. This claim says that Endgame Thor was stronger than Infinity War Thor, which is completely wrong. The directors never said that Thor at the end of Endgame was physically as strong as he was in Infinity War. This is just an interpretation people came up with, mostly to downplay Thor, and that's obviously not something I'm going to let slide. Now let's take a look at this comment and break down what was actually being asked and what was actually answered. This comment is from Reddit, and it's about 7 years old. I'll also share the link to the original post in the description. So first, read this carefully and tell me where exactly it sounds like they're talking about physical strength. Look at this line. The difficult road that Thor's traveled ultimately gave him strength. Tell me, where in that sentence does it say physical strength? Any logical person can tell this is clearly about mental strength, said in a metaphorical way. Now let's break down the commenter's question before jumping to conclusions. The commenter asks, was Thor weaker in Endgame's final fight, or did realizing he was still worthy return him to normal? So what they're really asking is this. After all the depression, trauma, and loss Thor went through, did realizing he was still worthy help him mentally recover and feel like himself again? There is nothing here about being physically stronger. The key word used is worthy. Lifting Mjolnir does not suddenly make Thor physically stronger here, especially when he already had Stormbreaker and never lost his powers like he did in Thor 1. His strength was never taken away. This is clearly about mental and emotional strength. On top of that, meeting his mother gave him a huge emotional boost. You can literally see it on his face. He becomes calmer and more positive. So, when the Russos say the difficult road that Thor's traveled ultimately gave him strength, he was stronger than ever by the end of Endgame. They are talking about his life journey, losing his father, his mother, his home, his brother, half of Asgard, and blaming himself for half the universe being wiped out. After realizing he was still worthy and after meeting his mother, all that weight finally lifted. That's why he became mentally and emotionally stronger than he had ever been before, not physically stronger. Hopefully by now I've explained this comment clearly. And don't worry, I have even more proof coming that shows Endgame Thor was weaker than Infinity War Thor. Now look at this screenshot. This is from Marvel's official website, marvel.com. I'll put the link in the description, so if you don't believe me, you can check it yourself. It clearly says that in Endgame, Thor was despondent emotionally and spiritually, and that he physically let himself go. That means he didn't take care of his physical health and stayed inactive for 5 years. No fighting, nothing. This point is important to understand. Some people say he's a god, so gaining weight wouldn't affect him because he's fought countless battles before. I get that argument, but if his physical condition truly didn't matter at all, then Thor wouldn't have gotten out of shape in the first place. The fact that he did gain weight already proves that his body was affected. That doesn't happen without consequences. Now, people bring up Odin and say he was fat too and still defeated Prime Surtur, frost giants, and conquered the 9 realms. But here's the difference. Odin is not a physical fighter like Thor. Thor relies heavily on raw strength, durability, stamina, and endurance. And in Endgame, 2 of those key stats, stamina and endurance, were clearly at their lowest compared to his Infinity War version. Odin is mainly a magic user. He fights using magic and power, not physical brawling. So using Odin's feats to defend Endgame Thor makes no sense. It's an irrelevant comparison. This screenshot alone already proves that Endgame Thor was weaker. He got out of shape because he was negatively affected, and that negative effect clearly showed in the final fight. And the next screenshot proves this point even more clearly, showing that Thor was physically weaker in the last battle. Look at this screenshot. This is from the same official website. Here it clearly says that even after meeting his mother and realizing that he was still worthy, Thor still wasn't at his 100%. That means this statement is pointing at both his mental and physical condition. Mentally, he was much stronger compared to his older versions, but overall he still wasn't fully back, especially physically. And the next screenshot proves this point even more clearly. This screenshot is from the Endgame script. It clearly shows that when Thor says he wants to do the snap, Tony immediately tells him, "You're in no condition." That alone makes it clear how messed up Thor was in Endgame, even after meeting his mother and realizing that he was still worthy. And if you don't want to take my word for it based on a screenshot, I'll just show you the actual clip.
I'm the strongest Avenger, okay? So this responsibility falls upon me. It's
Norman,
my
you're right.
duty.
It's not about that,
No,
Norman.
it's not that. It's not.
Buddy.
Stop it! Just let me. Just let me do it. Just let me do something good, something right.
Look, it's not just the fact that that glove is channeling enough energy to light up a continent. I'm telling you, you're in no condition.
What do you think?
All right, satisfied now? Let me show you one more screenshot that makes it clear Thor wasn't even in a condition to do the snap in this movie. Now, look at this screenshot. This is from when the Russo brothers were asked why only Tony did the snap at the end of Endgame, even though powerful heroes like Thor and Captain Marvel were also there and could have tried it. The Russos explained that Thor was not in a condition to do the snap at all in this movie. They also said they weren't even sure whether Captain Marvel would survive it. Hulk was the only one who had already snapped and lived, which is why he wasn't used again. In the final moment, Tony was chosen simply because he was the closest to Thanos. So overall, they're clearly saying Thor was not fit to snap in Endgame, which proves he wasn't physically in that condition, and he wasn't fully mentally recovered either. That's why Tony was chosen, because he was closest to Thanos. And wait, the proofs are not over yet. Now I'll show you two more clips where the Russo brothers clearly say that they deliberately made Thor physically vulnerable in this movie. Watch the first clip first.
Prepping the film and developing the film was certainly one of our favorite things that we were doing in the movie. You know, our sort of creative process is like, how do we subvert things? How do we find ways to twist things and run against expectations? And the ability to take this god, who physically looks like a god too, in terms of human beauty, and sort of subvert that and turn that into something real and relatable and vulnerable, and that was coming from a source of inner pain. And that's what we're always looking for, is the humanity in these characters. And it seemed like a very powerful way to access Thor's humanity. It is very funny, certainly, on one level, but it's also very emotional, tragic, yeah. and it has an amazing human texture to it.
So you heard it yourself. Anthony Russo clearly said that they wanted to take this Thor, who physically looks like a god with perfect human beauty and physique, and turn him vulnerable. That means he is directly saying they made Thor physically vulnerable in Endgame. And don't stop here, there's one more clip where it said that Thor was extremely vulnerable in Endgame. That statement comes from Joe Russo himself.
I'd like to point out the work of Chris Hemsworth over the last two films, Infinity War and this movie. I think it's very difficult to be as handsome as he is, and to play pathos and humor at the same time, and be extremely vulnerable. I mean, it's a very, very rare collection of qualities in a leading man, and I've just found him to be exceedingly endearing in these last two films. And he's a character that that has lost almost everything in his life, and again, he's played it with a certain sense of pathos and nobility, but has made us laugh at the same time. It's a tone. That kind of tone is exceptionally difficult.
Joe, Steven.
See? Joe Russo himself also said that Thor was extremely vulnerable in this movie. If after all these proofs and explanations someone still says that Endgame Thor was stronger than Infinity War Thor, then honestly, that person is just a Thor hater. Any neutral viewer would understand by now that Infinity War Thor was the peak version, the most dominant Thor we've ever seen, at least until Love and Thunder. I just want to ask Thor haters one simple thing. Are you still going to believe that one old comment with zero context and flawed interpretation, or this explanation which actually uses full context, logic, and multiple official proofs? I showed you evidence from Marvel's official website, from the Endgame script, from the Russo brothers' explanation about the snap, and two separate interviews where they clearly said Thor was physically vulnerable. That's 5 solid proofs versus one misunderstood comment. Any neutral person would get it by now. The rest will just keep yapping. Thanks for watching the video, and if possible, share this information so this old ass and wrong interpretations finally die. Bye.